Welcome back to another SUPboarder review. I'm Ruben, and this week we're going to be looking at the Loco Aztec 7.1 by 26.5. Loco are a UK based brand that started making SUPs back in 2012, and this is definitely one of the most radical SUPs to date. At the moment their boards are only available direct through them and they're not available for retail shop. The specifications for the Aztec: 7'1" long, 26.5 inches wide, 4¼ inches thick. It comes in at 100 litres in volume and it weighs 9 kilograms and it retails at $899. And they also do a lightweight carbon version that retails at $1149. They also make this board in a 7.7 and an 8.1. General overview of the board: a very short stubby nose board with a parabolic outline and a slightly round to square tail. The fin setup the board comes with, it comes with a quad and a thruster setup in fins as well. And the materials of this board: an EPS foam core, it's got bamboo, glass fibre and outer skin. You can see it's got carbon rails right around the outside of the board. Who's this board designed for? This board is designed for an intermediate to advanced SUP surfer that wants to get on a smaller board in the smaller to medium sized surf. The SUPboarder first impression: straight out the box, this board is very different to any of the board we've tested. For a start, it's a wax board, so this is the board we've got to wax. So as you can see, you wax the surface here. I personally love wax boards, very much like the surfing background. It has a large tail kick pad at the back here, diamond EVA grip with a very large kick pad that you can feel easily with your foot. Double leash plugs at the back there, so you can either use one or two. Really standout graphics with the bright blue and the Easter Island sort of face prints on the top and bottom. Slightly recessed from centre, deep carry handle that's nice and recessed inside so you can get your knuckles right in there. GoPro mount at the front there for your extra footage, and it's got an internal built valve release. The overall outline shape of the board, as you can see, it's a stubby nose board that we've been doing a lot of test stuff lately, but this is the first one with a parabolic rail, so the rail gently swoops in towards the tail. That's meant to really aid the performance and the turning ability of the board. Still quite wide up at the nose there for extra stability, and generally a bit straighter back here for extra speed, and then slightly wider in the tail to still make it stable, but then a round square tail to also help the board on its turns. Looking at the top of the board, the whole of the deck of the board from front to back is actually very flat, which makes it very easy to stand on, very stable. Because the board is relatively thick, 4¼ inches thick, it holds a lot of the thickness in the rails right the way through to the back here. So actually the board holds a lot of volume for its size. So it looks a really small board, but as I say, so this is a very similar size to other brands that we've tested, and they might be at the sort of 90 litre mark. This is a 100 litre board, so it's got a lot more volume for its size, let's say. Moving the rail back, the rail gets extremely sharp from just part to the midsection of the tail pad and gets even sharper right to the back here. Looking at the rocker line, the rocker line is quite steady throughout the whole of the board, with a slight flat section just in the mid there, just to help the speed and the drive of the board. Looking at the bottom shape of the board, up at the nose there, we have quite a lot of concave, which is going to give you lift and hold the water at the front there, make it easier paddling on the wave. Just moving back, it's petering out the concave, it's getting less. Moving back, it's pretty much going flat, and then a V is starting to come in here, which is where the middle is raising up to give the sides to bevel off. Bit more V, and then the channel starts to happen, and then it has a deep cutaway into a channel with a V inside the channel, and the channel on the sides there is almost probably 20 mil deep, so it's quite an aggressive channel there on the sides. And moving back to the fins, the V is still in the channel, and it starts to bevel off at the side of the fins. The fins the board comes with, it comes with a quad setup and a thruster setup, as I said, so a 2+1 or a quad setup. Fins are really well finished and of a nice size. These quad setup here with the smaller ones at the back, 90 millimeters or 9 centimeters at the back, 11.5 centimeter or 115 millimeters at the front there. The center fin at the back there comes in a US box. As I said, these are FCS boxes. Put all that together, what was the performance like of the board? Standing on the board on the flat, you realise it actually has quite a lot of volume for its size. As I said, it's a short, narrow board, but because of the thick rails, it gives you a lot of volume. So really quite a stable board to paddle. You better get a bigger rider on this board, let's say, for its size. When paddling along and paddling out, the board does tend to sort of zigzag slightly from side to side, but that's to be expected with the length of the board, so you have to work on your paddle stroke to get going in a straight line. Pushing out through waves, it does push out through waves okay, but you've got to put your weight a bit further back to get the nose up. just because of the thickness, the amount of volume in the nose. Sometimes on these small boards you can just punch through the white water. Because of this has got a bit more volume in the nose, it does tend to push back at you. When you're paddling for waves, it catches steep waves easily. With a few strokes it drops in, but we did find on the slacker waves, the more slopey waves, you really have to get your head down and put the power stroke in to get the board moving and onto the face. When on the face, as I said, if it's on a steeper face or a faster wave, it really does generate a lot of speed and a lot of grip. On the slacker waves that were a bit mushy, a bit weak, let's say, we did find that we were having to pump the board, and it does pump well to generate speed, but it really wasn't sort of producing its own speed, let's say. Worked much better on the faster, steeper sections of the wave. So much so that it's sort of board that was crying out to find little closeouts, little barrels, and really hold you close into the face there. The fins also, the fins have got quite a big cant on them, so there's quite a big angle holding them out, but then that aids to having you locked into a really steep wave face to give you extra grip. The wave sizes we were testing it in, there weren't absolutely epic conditions. They were waist to shoulder high maybe on the sets. To be honest, we would like to get it out with some faster, bigger waves, because I think this board really lends itself to giving that ultimate grip and speed. As for the parabolic rails and the turnability of the board, I'd love to test this board without parabolic rails to compare the two. Parabolic rails are a bit of a one that's been around a long time, and some surf brands use it, some surf brands don't. It turns okay. I would have liked to seen it turn a little bit more aggressively, but to be honest, with the channels and the fins, it is really set up to speed and hold you in that wave face. Having the double leash plug at the back there, actually really liked it. If you have it on one leash plug, because the boards are so wide these days at the tail, generally when you have a single leash plug in the middle, as your pull pulls you get this great big yank, but having the leash plug at the side actually turns the board slightly and has a bit less pressure in your leg. That's a really good thing they've done there. So you've got a single leash plug at the side there, put it on that, less drag on your foot in a bigger wave. Who's the Aztec best suited for? We think the Aztec's best suited for an advanced, intermediate, advanced SUP surfer that wants to get into a smaller board and ride more aggressive, faster waves of the sort of waist to head and a half high surf. Any negatives or downsides to the Loco? The deck pad's great, really nice, and I actually really like the big tail kicker, but I just wish it was an inch further back, or even 2 inches further back. Did find that some of the times I was planting my turns and they were sort of slipping off the back, and I had my foot on the leash plug there. So a little bit further back. And the other thing is, it'd be great to see really nice centre fin it comes with, but it's just a little bit oversized. So if you're going to get into riding it as a thruster, because we used it as a quad here, if you get into ride it as a thruster, maybe get a US FCS box adapter and put an 11.5 in there or something smaller. Value for money, at $8.99 it's definitely one of the cheapest progressional surf SUPs on the market, and it has got a great finish to the board too. The SUPboarder verdict for the Loco Aztec: this is a radical little board from Loco that really suits those faster, steeper, hollower waves. It's going to be good for that intermediate, advanced intermediate SUP surfer that wants to keep a bit of volume in their board but jump down into a smaller size board in general. If you have any questions or comments about this board or other boards we've tested, please leave them in the comments section below. Or if you want to find out more about any other boards, please visit SUPboardermag.com.